As Choi In-seop tried to sit up, he felt dizzy and lay back down on the seat. Lee Woo-yeon closed the book he was reading. In-seop stared blankly at his moving fingers. As Jenny had said, they were long and beautiful fingers. "Does your head hurt?" "I'm fine." "I'm sorry. If I knew you wouldn't like it, I would have stopped you. I never thought you'd faint." "Did I faint?" Choi In-seop tried to recall. Due to his naturally weak heart, he had never ridden amusement park rides. Although he could now function like an average person, rides were still psychologically overwhelming for him. "Yes. You fainted as soon as you got off the ride." Choi In-seop bit his lip. Imagining it was nothing short of embarrassing. A grown man fainting after riding an amusement park ride. Fortunately, there was a doctor among the people waiting to ride, and he checked on you. He said it was just a fainting spell. "So I brought you to the car, but do you want to go to the hospital?" "No, I'm fine." As Choi In-seop tried to get up, Lee Woo-yeon raised his hand to stop him. "Stay lying down. It'll take a while for Chief CHA to get here from the province anyway." "Chief CHA?" "Yes. When I told him you fainted, he said he'd come. It'll take about an hour. Just rest." Choi In-seop held his head with his hand. Not only had he fainted, but Chief CHA was also on his way here. Today was really the worst day. "What about the filming?" "It's fine. We finished it all smoothly." "That's a relief." Choi In-seop murmured weakly. Lee Woo-yeon smiled. Whenever In-seop faced his smiling face, his heart ached. A prince-like face with a sweet smile. It seemed like he could hear Jenny's voice urging him to quickly reveal his true nature to everyone. Lee Woo-yeon reached out and touched Choi In-seop's face. Feeling his hair stand on end, In-seop froze. "Your face is red. I thought you might have a fever." "Oh, no." Choi In-seop sat up. He felt much better than before. He didn't feel dizzy even when he moved. "I'll call Chief CHA and tell him I'll drive myself." "No, just rest. There's no rush." Despite himself, Lee Woo-yeon never mentioned driving back himself. From what Choi In-seop had gathered, it seemed true that Lee Woo-yeon never drove anyone around. "Because of me. I'm sorry." Choi In-seop bowed his head in apology. Lee Woo-yeon smiled and brushed it off, saying it was nothing. He seemed incredibly kind and considerate when viewed like this. Choi In-seop increasingly doubted himself. Could he really uncover the true nature hidden beneath that thick mask? "Oh, right, In-seop." "Yes?" "Can you return what I entrusted to you earlier?" "What I?" "Oh, the lucky stone." Choi In-seop fumbled in his pocket. However, the box was nowhere to be found. He searched the other side just in case, but it was the same. Oh. In a panic, Choi In-seop stood up, only to hit his head on the car roof. "What's wrong? Is something the matter?" "No, the box, it was definitely here earlier. I definitely checked." Despite the chaos, he had intermittently checked the presence of the box in his pocket. That is, until he got on the ride. "Did you lose it?" It was clear that the box had fallen out of his pocket while he was on the ride. The fear of riding a roller coaster for the first time had prevented him from even considering entrusting the box to someone. "I think I dropped it while I was on the ride." I see." Choi In-seop's expression grew even paler. He looked even more ashen than when he got off the ride. "I'm sorry." "It's okay. These things happen." "I'm sorry. It's all my fault." Choi In-seop's shoulders drooped further. He looked like a frightened child who had put his hand inside a lion's mouth. Lee Woo-yeon felt pleased. To be so apologetic over a mere stone. The new manager crumbled like paper with just a little pressure. Li Wuyan was confident. He could get rid of this man anytime he wanted. It can't be helped. It was a precious item, but what can we do now that it's lost? A precious item. It often changed. He would put stones, leaves, keychains, or other items in a box and call them lucky charms, asking the manager to hold on to them for a while. When he got a chance, he would steal the item and throw it in the trash. The reactions of people caught up in this childish, nasty trick were almost always the same. First confusion, then regret, followed by frustration. Their consistent excuse was that they had checked and had the item, but it had disappeared. Of course it disappeared. I took it and threw it away. Don't worry about it. Even as Li Wuyan smiled and spoke, Choi In-seop remained silent. An awkward silence filled the van. I need to use the bathroom. Choi In-seop stood up and muttered. Li Wuyan nodded and reopened the book he had been reading. Choi In-seop never came back after that. Li Wuyan only closed his book after realizing that 20 minutes had passed since he left the van. Did he collapse somewhere again? Recalling Choi In-seop's pale face as he left the van, Li Wuyan clicked his tongue. While it wasn't his concern if Choi In-seop collapsed, it would cause a stir in the newspapers if anything went wrong. There had been too many witnesses who saw Choi In-seop faint. How annoying. Li Wuyan put on a hat from the van and went outside. Since he had purposely parked in a secluded area, it was a long walk to the bathroom. Hoping to find Choi In-seop collapsed nearby, Li Wuyan started walking. However, neither the nearby bathroom nor its vicinity had any sign of the collapsed manager. Just as he was about to call Chief CHA, Choi In-seop's words came to mind. No way. He walked towards the roller coaster where they had filmed. There were hardly any guests left at this hour due to the cold winter. Li Wuyan cursed under his breath as he exhaled. You idiot, what the hell are you doing out here? Underneath the roller coaster, there was a small artificial lake created by the amusement park. It was a small puddle designed to heighten the fear when the train plummeted down. As Li Wuyan had expected, Choi In-seop was in the water, with his pants rolled up, looking for the box. He was trembling all over, as if he might collapse at any moment. Li Wuyan laughed bitterly. Why did he need to go to such lengths to get in his good graces? Choi In-seop. When Li Wuyan called him, In-seop, startled, straightened up, only to lose his balance and fall into the puddle. What an idiot. Suppressing his irritation, Li Wuyan feigned concern in his voice. Are you okay? Yes. I'm fine. Choi In-seop, who tried to stand up, wobbled and fell again. Li Wuyan swallowed a string of curses while smiling. What are you doing there? I was looking for the box. The box Choi In-seop was looking for was in Li Wuyan's pocket. He had taken it out while Choi In-seop was unconscious in the car and put it in his pocket, planning to throw it in the trash at the first opportunity. It's okay. Come out now. Quickly. I can find it. Stubbornly, Choi In-seop closed his mouth and put his hand back into the puddle. Come out. You'll catch a cold. It's okay. You go inside. He didn't look okay at all. Even in the dark, Li Wuyan could see Choi In-seop's thin shoulders trembling as he searched the water. In-seop, it's really okay. Just come out now. Despite Li Wuyan's words, Choi In-seop pretended not to hear. He'll stop eventually, Li Wuyan thought, leaning against a tree and waiting for Choi In-seop to come out on his own. But even after 10 minutes, Choi In-seop continued to search for the non-existent box in the water. It's just a stone. It's okay if we don't find it. No, it's not. What? It's just a stone, but it's important. Li Wuyan took off his shoes and rolled up his pants. Choi In-seop's eyes widened in surprise as he saw Li Wuyan walking into the water. You're not coming out until you find it, right? Yes. Then let's find it together. It'll be faster. I can just. We are already wet. Let's find it quickly. It's cold. Li Wuyan said as he dipped his hands into the water. The water was so cold it felt like it pierced his bones. Choi In-seop's lips had turned blue from the cold. If he left him like this, he might really have to deal with a dead body. It would be the worst scandal to manage. And above all, he was curious. Why was this idiot of a manager, who pretended to be his fan, going to such lengths? Taking advantage of Choi In-seop turning his back to search for the box, Li Wuyan took the box out of his pocket and placed it in an appropriate spot. Then he tapped Choi In-seop's shoulder and gestured for him to look over there. I'll go this way, so you go over there. Yes, I understand. As he replied, Choi In-seop looked at Li Wuyan with worried eyes. Worry about yourself, you idiot. Li Wuyan wanted to say but instead gave him a silent smile. Oh. Noticing the box, Choi In-seop's eyes lit up and he ran over. He picked up the wet box and shouted. I found it. Really? Li Wuyan answered, shaking the water off his hands. Let's get out quickly. You'll catch a cold. Yes. I'm sorry. As soon as they got out of the water, Choi In-seop wiped off the box and checked inside. It's intact. Yes, it is. He handed the box to Li Wuyan. Li Wuyan put it in his pocket and said, Thank you. Thanks to you, we found it. It's nothing. I should have kept it better. Oh. Out of the water, Choi In-seop's face turned even paler. He shivered so violently that passers-by stared. Li Wuyan took off his jacket and draped it over him. I'm okay. It's fine. Wear it. Li Wuyan, expecting Choi In-seop to continue refusing, zipped the jacket up himself. Choi In-seop bowed his head and muttered his thanks. Li Wuyan dried his feet quickly and put on his shoes. Even with an extra layer of clothing, Choi In-seop couldn't stop shivering. Excuse me, could you? To make matters worse, a group of women who recognized Li Wuyan surrounded them. Li Wuyan pulled his hat down low and tugged on Choi In-seop's clothes. Choi In-seop politely apologized as he pushed through the women. Despite being frustrated by his polite manners even in such situations, Li Wuyan walked ahead silently. Aren't you Li Wuyan oppa? No. Li Wuyan answered in a low voice, but it was no use. The girls with sharp eyes soon surrounded him and started screaming. Kia! Oh my god, it's really Li Wuyan. Oppa, please sign this. Just one photo with you, please. I'm your fan. As the girls surrounded him and screamed, Li Wuyan pretended not to notice and kept walking. Choi In-seop instinctively sensed that Li Wuyan's mood was not good. Oppa! Wait, Oppa! One of the schoolgirls grabbed Li Wuyan's clothes and pulled him back. Taking advantage of the moment, the other girls surrounded him. People who heard the girls' screams turned their attention to them. Oppa, I love you so much. Oppa, please give me an autograph. As more and more people started to gather, Choi In-seop, whose actions and judgment had been dulled by the cold, became flustered and didn't know what to do. Li Wuyan suddenly grabbed Choi In-seop's hand and started walking quickly. The women left behind continued to call out for Wuyan oppa, but he didn't look back even once. Over there. Choi In-seop tried to say that the parking lot was in the other direction, but Li Wuyan pulled him so strongly that he had to close his mouth. Due to their height difference, In-seop almost had to run to keep up. The women, surprised by the cold attitude of the man they believed to be Li Wuyan, followed at a suitable distance. Li Wuyan led Choi In-seop into the Ferris wheel. Excuse me, we're about to close for the night. Just one ride, please. Li Wuyan took off his hat and smiled. Recognizing him, the staff member excitedly asked for an autograph. Just one ride, and go slowly, please. We're being chased. He pointed to the women approaching from a distance. Amused by his playful tone, the staff member closed the Ferris wheel door. As they ascended, Choi In-seop sighed and sat down. Lee Woo-yeon sat across from him. "I'm sorry." With lips as blue as a dead man's, Choi In-seop apologized. "For what?" "Because of me. If I had kept the box safe in the first place, none of this would have happened. I'm sorry." Leaning against the window, Lee Woo-yeon looked at Choi In-seop, who had his head bowed. He could tell that the apology was sincere. Lee Woo-yeon started to say it was okay but then just turned his head. For some reason, he didn't feel like pretending to be kind right now. In the quiet Ferris wheel, the sound of Choi In-seop's chattering teeth echoed loudly. "Are you cold?" Lee Woo-yeon asked, looking at the shivering Choi In-seop. "Yes, a little." "Come sit next to me." Lee Woo-yeon gestured to the seat beside him. But Choi In-seop shook his head and didn't move. "Why? Don't you want to sit next to me?" "No, it's not that." Shivering, In-seop had no choice but to sit next to Lee Woo-yeon. He felt guilty for finding warmth in Lee Woo-yeon's body. If he believed what he thought, Lee Woo-yeon shouldn't even have warm blood flowing through his veins. But in this confined space, he couldn't openly avoid Lee Woo-yeon. Thinking that a fan or an ordinary manager would behave this way, Choi In-seop justified his actions to himself. "Choi In-seop." "Yes?" Looking at the shivering Choi In-seop, Lee Woo-yeon was reminded of a wet puppy. Not a cute, chubby puppy, but a scrawny one that somehow provoked a cruel instinct in people. Lee Woo-yeon smiled at Choi In-seop, who looked up at him with fearful eyes. "Why did you become my fan?" "What?" "Oh, after watching your movie." Choi In-seop was flustered. He had imagined being asked this question before but never thought the person asking would be Lee Woo-yeon himself. "How did you like the movie?" "It was good." "Why?" There was a strange persistence in the question. Choi In-seop pressed his fingertips with his nails and tried to answer calmly. "Your eyes are the way you looked at the sea, your expression, it felt like you were alone. That's why. I thought it was good." This was true. To learn about the actor Lee Woo-yeon, Choi In-seop had watched his movies dozens of times. The film he watched the most was the independent film Lee Woo-yeon first starred in. The movie, which began with scattering the ashes of a beloved woman into the sea, was shot entirely on the beach. It was praised for its portrayal of the sadness that seeped through the small, mundane moments of everyday life. What Choi In-seop couldn't forget was the last scene of the movie. Lee Woo-yeon's face, as he silently looked out at the sea, was profoundly solitary. Like a person left alone on Earth after all humans had disappeared, he had a completely solitary expression. A completely solitary person. Choi In-seop didn't know if it was the right expression, but whenever he saw Lee Woo-yeon, that phrase came to mind. "I meant to tell you before." Lee Woo-yeon's gentle voice pulled Choi In-seop back to reality. "When did you mean?" "The day we had dinner together." Choi In-seop nodded, recalling that Lee Woo-yeon had tried to say something to him but had left because of the chef's food. "I've seen a lot of people who say they like me." "Yes." Choi In-seop's mouth felt dry. He worried that his behavior might not have been convincing enough to portray himself as a fan. "Honestly, I find it hard to deal with people who say they like me." "Yes. I don't know what part of me they like, and I wonder if they really mean it. Of course, I'm always grateful to fans who like and support me." Despite his polite words, there wasn't a hint of sincerity in Lee Woo-yeon's tone. He found his fans annoying. He hated people rudely approaching him on the street and the young girls who screamed without shame. To Lee Woo-yeon, fans were merely a means to prove his status. Isn't that right? When someone says they like you, you become more conscious of your actions and worry if they'll be disappointed. Yes. Choi In-seop answered diligently, but he couldn't understand why Lee Woo-yeon was telling him this. Was he indirectly expressing annoyance at Choi In-seop for pretending to be a fan? Choi In-seop thought he might write in his notebook tonight that he was unexpectedly good at acting. In-seop, do you like me, or do you like my work? Startled by the unexpected question, Choi In-seop looked at the man sitting next to him with wide eyes, revealing an unguarded expression. I just want to know which it is. Oh. A big bang occurred in his head. Would it be better to say he liked him, or just his work? No matter how he thought about it, saying he didn't like Lee Woo-yeon but only his work seemed wrong. But Lee Woo-yeon had clearly stated earlier that he felt uncomfortable when people liked him. Choi In-seop's mind was filled with thoughts about which option would be more beneficial for their future interactions. I think I'm a fan of Lee Woo-yeon as an actor. To be honest, he was more like an anti-fan pretending to be a fan, but for now, this was the best he could say. So I wanted to help you shoot better works, and now that's all. Choi In-seop had practiced countless times in front of a mirror for this moment. For someone who had never lied to another person before, deceiving someone proved to be more difficult than he had anticipated. But he had to do it. A fan of Lee Woo-yeon as an actor? Yes. At Choi In-seop's unwavering response, Lee Woo-yeon burst into laughter. Leaning his head back, he laughed heartily, and In-seop stared at him blankly. Could he have given the wrong answer? That's a relief. It's a relief because I was worried you might have too many expectations of me. Lee Woo-yeon put his hand on Choi In-seop's shoulder. It was a natural gesture, maintaining an appropriate level of friendliness and distance. Do your best. From now on. Yes. Lee Woo-yeon's hand patted Choi In-seop's back lightly. An indescribable sensation swept through his entire body. Despite his efforts not to, Choi In-seop involuntarily flinched. A strange smile appeared on Lee Woo-yeon's face as he observed this. Are you cold? Yes. Although his body had warmed up considerably, making him not feel as cold, that was the only excuse In-seop could come up with. Come closer. Right next to me. Yes, thank you. Every time their shoulders touched, Lee Woo-yeon watched as Choi In-seop's expression stiffened. Noticing his gaze, Choi In-seop turned his head to look out the window, clearly uncomfortable. You clearly dislike it, don't you? Lee Woo-yeon propped his chin on his hand, watching Choi In-seop with a smirk. It wasn't particularly enjoyable to see the manager's awkwardness, but it piqued his curiosity. Why was this idiot trying so clumsily to deceive him? He decided to keep him around for a while. It wouldn't matter. As easily as he got bored of things, he could discard Choi In-seop when the time came. In the cramped Ferris wheel, the two of them stared at the distant lights, each lost in their own thoughts. That show on S Network? No way. CEO Kim Hak-soon, who was lying face down, spoke firmly. Why not? Lee Woo-yeon, who was also lying face down on a bed some distance away, asked. That show invites guests and bombards them with explicit questions. Your charm lies in your mystery. What would you even talk about there? Can't I just say something appropriately? Say something appropriate and... CEO Kim bit his lip as he noticed Lee Woo-yeon's manager blinking in front of him. Lee Woo-yeon was a troublesome person. He had a terrible temper, yet he hid it so well that it made him a natural-born actor. But both manager CHA and CEO Kim had a nagging feeling that one day, Lee Woo-yeon wouldn't be able to control his temper and would cause a big problem. Anyway, you can't do that. Is there anything else? You don't necessarily have to go on a talk show. Don't you know it's polite to promote yourself before starting a movie or drama? I'll do a few more interviews. That's not enough. The producer contacted me yesterday, asking for as much PR as possible. Isn't that right, In-seop? Yes, I received the call yesterday. Choi In-seop, who was sitting across from them, answered. Since it's a historical drama, there's a lot of investment involved. Naturally, they want promotion. If you were in their shoes, wouldn't you? Manager CHA, who was getting a foot massage, chimed in. Why did you come all the way here to nag? I've worked hard too. How can I watch you two get massages alone? CEO Kim Hak-sung's three pleasures in life were fashion, fishing, and massages. He had booked this luxury aesthetic, which had to be reserved a month in advance, with a song on his lips, only to be silently pulled back by manager CHA. Even when he yelled that manager CHA should leave since this was a business meeting with Lee Woo-yeon, manager CHA hadn't budged. He insisted that he had to go because it was a business meeting. The only times CEO Kim happily sang were when he was going to buy clothes, go fishing, or get a massage. In the end, all four men ended up getting massages in the same room. Choi In-seop, who had stubbornly refused to get a full-body massage, was sitting next to manager CHA, receiving a foot massage. Is there any decent talk show? Lee Woo-yeon isn't suited for talk shows, CEO. Manager CHA, knowing Lee Woo-yeon's true nature, carefully expressed his opinion. Well, then what would be good? In-seop, what do you think? When Lee Woo-yeon's gaze turned to him, Choi In-seop sprang up and answered. I agree with manager CHA's opinion. Are you having a class meeting? CEO Kim joked, causing Choi In-seop's face to turn red. The freckles on the bridge of his nose became more prominent, making him look much younger. Lee Woo-yeon had only recently noticed this. Sometimes, he found himself looking forward to CEO Kim's pointless jokes. Well, what I mean is, in my opinion. Choi In-seop took a notebook out of his pocket. After flipping through a few pages, he continued calmly. There's a program called Following the Path of History on K-Network. It's conducted like a documentary, dealing with important historical events and figures. Usually, voice actors do the narration, but sometimes actors take on the role. I heard they are preparing content related to the era Mr. Lee Woo-yeon is working on. If Mr. Lee Woo-yeon does the narration, I think they might even revise the content. That's all. Choi In-seop put his notebook back in his pocket. The three men exchanged amused looks. In-seop, when do you sleep? What? At night, sir. Ha ha ha, you're really something. CEO Kim laughed hysterically. Realizing he had made another mistake, Choi In-seop lowered his head. Although he had learned Korean from his father and could speak it as his native language, he still struggled with understanding rhetorical questions. It was difficult for him to discern whether a question was genuinely inquisitive or had another intent. Did you mean to ask when exactly I sleep? Choi In-seop finally grasped the intent behind CEO Kim's question. Exactly. You must be exhausted following Lee Woo-yeon around all day, yet you still do all this research. I told you he's good at his job, didn't I? The gentle praise followed. Hearing Lee Woo-yeon's single comment, Choi In-seop felt as if he had received grace from a high-ranking noble and he didn't know what to do with himself. I'll follow my manager's advice. At Lee Woo-yeon's words, manager CHA whistled. It was unimaginable for Lee Woo-yeon to not only be polite to his managers but also to follow their opinions. Manager CHA couldn't understand what was going through his mind. That day, he had been urgently called and sped like a madman to the amusement park, risking multiple speeding tickets. When he arrived, both of them were soaked and riding the Ferris wheel. Hearing Lee Woo-yeon's voice saying it was their third round, manager CHA thought, what the hell is this guy up to again? Later, when he asked Choi In-seop what had happened, he only shook his head and remained silent. Since Lee Woo-yeon, who was sly as a snake, wouldn't explain, manager CHA decided to quietly let that day go. In-seop understands me better than anyone because he's my fan. Isn't that right? Yes, thank you for thinking of me that way. It was a known fact in the office that Choi In-seop was a fan of Lee Woo-yeon. The report he submitted along with his resume had become a topic of conversation and everyone had read it. I'm really fortunate to have someone like In-seop as my manager. Manager CHA looked at Lee Woo-yeon, who said this with his eyes closed, as if it were absurd. Is he crazy? Why is he acting like this? He's not usually like this. Manager CHA realized that CEO Kim had the same bewildered expression. Hey, Lee Woo-yeon. Yes, sir. You're not bullying In-seop, are you? No, sir. The response came from Choi In-seop, not Lee Woo-yeon. Lee Woo-yeon chuckled pleasantly. Who am I bullying? Come on, sir, even joking about that. Ha ha. I should just stop talking. CEO Kim groaned and turned his head. Are you uncomfortable anywhere? No. I'm fine. Choi In-seop answered respectfully to the masseurs who was massaging his feet. Then I'll wrap up now. Thank you. Although he had insisted on waiting in the car, Choi In-seop had been dragged along by manager CHA and was now receiving a massage, but he found it all quite burdensome. In-seop, don't be so uptight. It's fine. When else would you get a service like this from our stingy CEO? Manager CHA murmured as he leaned back deeply into the leather chair. Even if not manager CHA, In-seop deserves it. I assigned Woo-yeon to him with some doubts, but who knew he would do such a good job? Doubts? Haha, sir, that's a bit much. Did you really hire my manager with such thoughts? Lee Woo-yeon joked, making CEO Kim glare at him. Doubts, my foot. This bastard. Do you even know what it took for me to hire your managers? It was like coughing up blood. CEO Kim's heart burned black with resentment, unable to voice his thoughts. If only he could, he would tear out Lee Woo-yeon's vile tongue. But knowing how beneficial that tongue was, CEO Kim clenched his fists and endured. Anyway, it's good that it turned out well, right? At manager CHA's words, CEO Kim nodded. Yes, it turned out well. Very well. So, Woo-yeon, do your best. CEO Kim glared at Lee Woo-yeon, suppressing many things he wanted to say. I'm doing well, thanks to In-seop. Choi In-seop, who had finished his foot massage and was sitting alone in the chair, glanced nervously in the direction where Lee Woo-yeon was lying. Manager CHA tilted his head. He often had strange thoughts. The new manager, who claimed to be a fan of Lee Woo-yeon, seemed excessively wary of him at times, almost as if he was scared. Nah, it can't be. No way Lee Woo-yeon would show his true nature to someone new. Manager CHA dismissed his thoughts and closed his eyes. Manager CHA, don't forget we are going fishing this weekend. Of course. Just wait and see. I'll show you the skills I've honed for this week. Are you two going fishing again? When Lee Woo-yeon emphasized it again, CEO Kim shouted, What's the problem? No problem, it's nice to see you two get along so well. Who else would go fishing with our CEO? He's a total cheat. Why am I a cheat? And why did you steal my bait when I was napping last time? I just checked the float for you. Geez, have you lived your whole life being tricked? You really don't trust people. Anyway, this time, let's compete fair and square. Glad to hear that. Choi In-seop watched their playful banter with curiosity. According to what he knew, Korean workplaces had strict hierarchies, but these two seemed like old friends. Are you too close? In-seop unknowingly voiced his curiosity. Then he covered his mouth with his hand and apologized. There's nothing to apologize for. Manager CHA was my road manager back when I was a model. Really? Yeah. Back then, he was just a snot-nosed road manager. He's grown a lot. Who would have thought a rich kid doing modeling as a hobby would become the CEO of an agency? Choi In-seop laughed briefly at their back and forth. He imagined their younger days. What's this? You laugh. Manager CHA murmured, surprised. What? You hardly ever laugh. I thought you didn't. I'm sorry. Now that he thought about it, In-seop couldn't remember laughing properly since coming to Korea. It was more accurate to say he hadn't had the leisure to. As he scratched his head, CEO Kim suddenly asked. What are you doing this weekend, In-seop? Yes? This weekend. Woo-yeon, you're off, right? Yes, I'm off. It was the last break for Lee Woo-yeon before he started filming the drama the following week. Do you have plans for the weekend? No. I don't. He had no acquaintances in Korea and no special plans. He intended to read the original novel of the drama Wooyan was starting and plan his schedule for the next week. Then come fishing with us in Donghae. Fishing? You haven't tried winter fishing, have you? I haven't tried any kind of fishing. Come on, it'll be fun. Yeah, join us. Our CEO has nothing but money, so he has a boat and a villa. Just bring yourself. He'll even feed you. He makes killer fish stew and he'll buy sashimi, too. All right. For someone like Inseop, I'll go all out. Let's go. No, I just... Choi Inseop intended to decline. He wanted to quietly come and go. Building relationships here wasn't his goal. Especially since he might have to exploit Lee Wooyan's weaknesses, these two would be the biggest collateral damage. Sounds fun. Up until that moment, Lee Wooyan, who had been silent, interrupted. Sure. It would be fun. Are you actually planning to come? CEO Kim cautiously gauged Lee Wooyan's reaction. When Lee Wooyan replied, of course not, with a smile, CEO Kim understood his true intention. Are you crazy? Why would I go there? CEO Kim thought the same. Why would you go? If Lee Wooyan joined the trip, it would no longer be a simple outing. Manager CHA muttered under his breath, yeah, why would you go there? Anyway, Inseop, are you coming? I'll just stay at home. What will you do at home? You live alone, right? What are you going to do on the weekend? Meet a girlfriend. No, it's not that. Come on. It'll be fun. Even manager CHA pressed him, and Choi Inseop, feeling troubled, began to worry. Why force him if he doesn't want to? It's not that I don't want to. Of course he doesn't want to. It's hard enough to get a proper rest on the weekend, especially since he won't be able to sleep properly once filming starts. How can he openly say he doesn't want to come? Sometimes you're too kind, CEO. Ha ha. Lee Wooyan laughed while defending his manager, but in doing so, he subtly criticized both CEO Kim and Choi Inseop. Oh, now that I think about it, it does seem a bit much. If you're tired, just rest, Inseop. No, sir. It's not that I don't want to. I guess I wasn't thinking straight. Seeing CEO Kim's embarrassed expression made Choi Inseop feel guilty. He had intentionally avoided making close acquaintances in Korea. He kept his interactions with office staff strictly professional and spent his days off alone at home. Occasionally contacting his family was the extent of his personal time. Was he lonely? Yes, deeply. So deeply that he refrained from contacting his family too often, trying to harden his heart. Sometimes he wanted to go out, watch movies, eat his favorite foods, and enjoy the breeze. He was curious about winter fishing and wanted to taste the fish stew CEO Kim was known for, something he'd only read about in books. It's not that your suggestion was thoughtless, CEO. It's just that Choi Inseop couldn't find the right words. He had never imagined being in a situation like this. He had imagined traveling the world, becoming the best basketball player, and curing patients as a skilled doctor while lying in bed sick, but he had never thought about how to respond to a boss's weekend trip invitation. It's okay. Inseop, I spoke out of turn. It's just an old man's boring trip. Manager CHA scratched his head, doubling Inseop's guilt. No, it sounds like a fun trip. An interesting trip with old men, I'm sure. CEO Kim frowned at the misplaced negative, but Inseop eagerly continued. It sounds like a very fun trip. I think so too. It's not that I don't want to go because it's an old man's boring trip. It's just that I'll go. It's okay. You don't have to come if you don't want to. It's not that. I'll go. Choi Inseop answered resolutely. CEO Kim was like a benefactor who had given him a job. Manager CHA took care of him more than anyone else, sometimes looking at him with a pitying expression and patting his shoulder. I'll go. Fishing. Really? You're not overdoing it. It's not overdoing it. I'll go with a happy heart. Choi In-seop said, bowing his head, and manager Cha burst into laughter. He patted In-seop's shoulder, straightening him up. Sometimes, In-seop, you speak so uniquely. What should I say is sometimes? Like a waiter. When Lee Woo-yeon, lying down, spoke, CEO Kim and manager Cha laughed heartily. Puhahaha. Exactly. Exactly, that's it. Where did you learn to talk like that? Do I speak like that? Choi In-seop had learned that speaking in the da-na-ka form to superiors was considered polite. He decided that tonight he would find out exactly how waiters speak. Okay, if you have time this weekend, come. But if it feels too much, you don't have to. Oh, hold on. CEO Kim's phone rang. Manager Cha handed it to him. Hello. Yes, I'll be right there. After finishing the call, CEO Kim stood up and motioned for manager Cha to follow. Manager Cha, let's go. Take me home. Go alone. I'm staying for a bit longer. Didn't you see me drinking wine earlier? Drive me. Call a chauffeur. How can I entrust my expensive car to a chauffeur? Grumbling, manager Cha got up. When Choi In-seop also tried to stand to see them off, CEO Kim shook his head. Stay and relax. You can leave when you're ready. Thank you. See you this weekend, and Lee Woo-yeon, you rest up. CEO Kim awkwardly patted Lee Woo-yeon's shoulder. Lee Woo-yeon said he would think about it and bowed. With the two gone, only Lee Woo-yeon, the masseuse working on his shoulder, and Choi In-seop remained in the room. After a while, the masseuse quietly asked Lee Woo-yeon. Is there any discomfort? No. I'll finish up then. Thank you. Lee Woo-yeon sat up, revealing his tightly muscled upper body. Seeing his broad shoulders, In-seop was reminded of the Ode to Broad Shoulders he and Jenny had composed. Jenny especially loved the prince's broad shoulders, claiming they deserved a song to be passed down for generations. She loved writing poems and songs, always creating works for the prince with him, although those works were never actually shared. Quarterback's shoulders. That's what Jenny always called the prince's shoulders. Why? Is there something on me? Lee Woo-yeon, putting on his robe, asked, sensing the gaze. No, it's nothing. Choi In-seop quickly turned his head. He had been unconsciously staring at Lee Woo-yeon's shoulders. His heart was pounding. Just a fleeting fragment of memory was enough to make his heart race uncontrollably. In-seop pressed his hand to his chest, trying to regain his composure. I'll wait outside. Choi In-seop stood up. Manager Cha's claim that even just a foot massage would relieve his fatigue was not an exaggeration. His steps felt significantly lighter. So, this is the mystical Korean chi treatment. Though he had been raised by his Korean adoptive father and could speak Korean as if it were his native language, most cultural aspects were new to him. Each day was filled with fresh experiences for Choi In-seop. As he mentally organized the notes he would write when he got home, someone tapped his shoulder. Turning around, he saw a woman with a familiar face smiling brightly. Hello. Choi In-seop bowed his head in greeting. Even if he didn't recognize her, if she knew him, it was likely she was someone related to work. Aren't you Woo-yeon's manager? Yes, I am. Don't you remember me? As Choi In-seop searched his memory, the woman scanned him up and down with a peculiar smile. I remember that day quite clearly. Ah. Choi In-seop's expression stiffened. He briefly recalled seeing her at Lee Woo-yeon's house. He couldn't see her well at the time, as he was in the shower, but he remembered her overall appearance. Where is Woo-yeon? You came together, right? He hesitated. From what he saw that day, it didn't seem like she and Lee Woo-yeon had parted on good terms. He wasn't sure if it was right to tell her that Lee Woo-yeon would be out soon. Didn't you come here with Woo-yeon? Yes, we did. Then where is he? After a moment of silence, Choi In-seop bowed his head. I'm sorry, but I can't say. Why are you apologizing? I'm sorry, I can't tell you. The woman's face turned red with anger. It took her a moment to understand what the manager was saying. Hey, do you know who I am? I'm Yo Min-ju. Yo Min-ju, don't you know? I'm sorry. Choi In-seop repeated the same words. Furious at his stubborn attitude, Yo Min-ju began to shout. Are you crazy? You're just a manager, what the hell do you think you're doing? Where is Lee Woo-yeon? I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? You bastard. Suddenly, everything went white before Choi In-seop's eyes. The sensation was so disorienting and painful that he didn't even realize he had been slapped. This bastard, acting all high and mighty. Yo Min-ju slapped Choi In-seop's cheeks repeatedly. People at the counter rushed over, but no one dared to stop her. She was infamous for her nasty temper, and crossing her could be more trouble than it was worth. Bastard, can't you speak? You idiot manager, how dare you? Someone grabbed her hand from behind. Woo-yeon. What's going on here? Lee Woo-yeon's voice was unusually low. Choi In-seop stood there, his head bowed. I was just a... He's my manager. Yes, I know, but... Lee Woo-yeon chuckled softly and leaned in to whisper in her ear. If you make a scene here, it'll only hurt your image, Min-ju. I was just a but Woo-yeon, your call. Lee Woo-yeon tightened his grip on her wrist. Yo Min-ju whimpered softly. It looks like you've had too much to drink. Let me help you. No, I just let go, Woo-yeon. Lee Woo-yeon gestured to a staff member who had been watching from the counter. The staff hurried over. It seems Min-ju has had a bit too much. Could you help her out? Yes, of course. Please take her home and let's pretend none of this happened today. Thank you. The staff member, blushing at Lee Woo-yeon's polite request, readily agreed. While discretion was a rule for shops frequented by celebrities, word often got out. Lee Woo-yeon figured one more bad rumor about Yo Min-ju wouldn't be a big deal. Please, Woo-yeon, listen to me. Seeing that Yo Min-ju wasn't about to stop talking, Lee Woo-yeon frowned slightly. I should have recognized this bitch from the start. Please go. I'm asking you. Lee Woo-yeon gently urged the esthetician to take her away. Yo Min-ju continued to shout irritably until she was out the door. Only after the elevator descended did Choi In-seop lift his head. I apologize. It's my fault. Don't say that. Lee Woo-yeon pulled out a handkerchief from his pocket and held it to Choi In-seop's nose. His cheeks were not only red and swollen from the slaps, but one of his nostrils was bleeding. Are you sure you don't need to go to the hospital? Yes, I'm fine. I'm sorry. Because of me. Lee Woo-yeon examined Choi In-seop's face closely as he spoke. It doesn't look like you'll bruise, but you have a cut here. Remembering the large diamond ring on Yo Min-ju's hand, Lee Woo-yeon clicked his tongue. It'll be fine with just some ointment. I'm okay. Let's go to the car. I'll put it on for you. No, I'll do it myself. Stop being stubborn. Lee Woo-yeon grabbed Choi In-seop's hand and led him to the elevator. As they walked out, he didn't forget to kindly greet the staff. Once they reached the van, Lee Woo-yeon made Choi In-seop sit in the back seat. Where's the first aid kit? Ah, here it is. Lee Woo-yeon found the first aid kit and sat directly in front of Choi In-seop. In-seop, still unable to lift his head, pressed his fingers into his lap. Look up. If you don't lift your head, I can't apply the ointment. I'll do it myself. Lee Woo-yeon placed his fingers under Choi In-seop's chin and gently forced his head up. Their eyes met. Li Wuyan squeezed some ointment onto his fingers and applied it to the wound on Inseop's cheek. The touch of Li Wuyan's beautiful fingers conveyed the pain to Inseop. Why didn't you say anything? About what? That woman was looking for me. You could have just told her I'd be out soon. I thought you wouldn't like it. Li Wuyan laughed. What a genuine fool. Do you refuse to do anything I dislike, even at the risk of your own comfort? Probably. Probably. I won't do it. His reply was like a child promising to do good deeds. Li Wuyan spoke in a voice mixed with laughter. He felt as if he had acquired a well-behaved pet. Even though it was scared and trembling, it wagged its tail enthusiastically. The problem was, Li Wuyan had always hated dogs. You have a lot of loyalty, my dear manager. Li Wuyan joked as he took out a bandage and placed it on Inseop's face. If I told you to die, would you? Li Wuyan examined Inseop's swollen face. After hesitating, Choi Inseop answered firmly. I would. What? If you told me to die, I would. I'll do it. Though I hope it never comes to that. Li Wuyan burst into laughter. It had been a while since he genuinely laughed, not just out of politeness. He sincerely wanted to ask, what on earth are you thinking? Why would you die? Don't you know I'm joking? He lightly patted Choi Inseop's cheek. The soft texture of his skin made Li Wuyan wonder about Choi Inseop's actual age, as stated on his resume. Was he really 26? Surely, he wasn't a minor. Oh yes, it's a joke. I'm joking too. Choi Inseop quickly agreed. Li Wuyan, observing his awkward smile, suddenly felt a whimsical change of heart. Inseop. Yes? Choi Inseop, who had been organizing the first aid kit, turned his head. The fishing trip this weekend, it's to Donghae, right? Li Wuyan asked with a languid, charming smile like a cat on a spring day. Yes. You're going there to mentally prepare before the drama starts? Yes. To mentally prepare with winter fishing? Yes. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. CEO Kim laughed hollowly, his expression vacant. His jaw tightened. This isn't right. This just isn't right. No matter how he tried to think positively, it wasn't right. Manager CHA, who was coming out with a fishing rod, froze when he saw Li Wuyan standing by the car. He quickly gave CEO Kim a look, but there was nothing he could say. Seeing how Manager CHA and CEO Kim worked together for so long, I thought a lot. It's admirable. Yeah. I thought I could learn a lot by watching you both. Trying to hold back the urge to scream, just be normal. CEO Kim forced a bright smile. Yeah, so you came here. You'll be tired when filming starts next week, right? Li Wuyan responded innocently to CEO Kim's meaningful question, clenching his teeth while smiling. You know how strong I am. What's the problem? One reason directors and producers liked Li Wuyan was his seemingly inexhaustible stamina. Even after 3 days without sleep, he remained fresh, to the point that some whispered he might be on something. When asked his secret, Li Wuyan would give the cliché answer, exercise. Yeah, you're strong. Didn't you say I should get along with my manager? Why? I meant be friendly, not. CEO Kim started but was cut off by Manager CHA's elbow. Choi Inseop stood nearby, holding his bag, looking blankly. Ha ha ha. Of course, you should be friendly. Like Manager CHA and me. CEO Kim draped an arm around Manager CHA's shoulder. Manager CHA laughed as he shrugged off Kim's arm. Who's driving? Li Wuyan asked. Choi Inseop, startled, raised his hand high. I will. His unexpected outburst made the 3 men burst into laughter. Inseop, did you die during class presentations? You can put your hand down. Inseop has a secret desire to present. As Choi Inseop lowered his hand, his face turned red. I'll drive. Give me the keys. When manager CHA gestured, CEO Kim took the key out of his pocket and tossed it to him. This is a new car, so drive gently. Then take the company car. The van stands out too much. People will think a celebrity's here just by seeing it parked. If you're planning a quiet, relaxed outing, it's already too late. Manager CHA grumbled, glancing at Lee Woo-yeon. A quiet fishing trip was already ruined with Lee Woo-yeon tagging along. Unless they fished at night in a secluded spot, they'd have to stay holed up in the villa during the day. As manager CHA got into the driver's seat, Choi In-seop naturally took the passenger seat, planning to take over the wheel later. CEO Kim and Lee Woo-yeon settled comfortably in the back seats. No one spoke as the car left the city. About 10 minutes into the highway, CEO Kim glanced back and asked, "Are there any cars tailing us?" 2. A white sedan and a grey taxi. Manager CHA skillfully maneuvered the steering wheel as he answered. Really? Choi In-seop turned to check but couldn't identify the mentioned vehicles. Either fans or reporters. One of the two, Lee Woo-yeon said casually. CEO Kim chuckled and patted his shoulder. Couldn't you have shaken them off better? You know how persistent they are, better than anyone, sir. But wouldn't you prefer not to have those parasites tagging along? Manager CHA glanced back and asked, should I lose them? Do it, CEO Kim granted permission, and the engine roared as it accelerated. Startled by the sudden speed, Choi In-seop clung to the handle. Don't worry. Manager CHA is a great driver. CEO Kim's voice was relaxed, but In-seop, feeling the speed from the front, couldn't loosen his grip on the handle. Manager CHA nonchalantly switched lanes and overtook cars, increasing speed. Ooh. As they narrowly passed another car, Choi In-seop's face turned white, and he let out a scream. Lee Woo-yeon, reading a script in the back, chuckled at the sound. Don't worry. Manager CHA has 20 years of accident-free driving. He's got a personal taxi license. Unfamiliar with Korean subtleties, Choi In-seop couldn't grasp the hidden meaning and, despite his grip on the handle, tried to engage in conversation. You earned a personal taxi license despite your busy schedule. Impressive. What? Why would I get that? Didn't the CEO just say? Never mind. I must have misunderstood it. Ah. Another close call made In-seop yelp. Unable to endure any longer, he pulled some medicine from his pocket and started chewing it. What medicine? Motion sickness. It was a heart medication with a calming effect. On paper, Choi In-seop was in perfect health, so he mumbled an excuse. Headache medicine. You eat that without water. Isn't it bitter? I'm used to it from taking it often. Realizing his slip, In-seop felt embarrassed. Normal people don't typically chew headache medicine out of habit. But no one seemed to care. In-seop sighed softly, not wanting to show any deviation from the image of the normal, healthy Choi In-seop. Can you read while the car is moving? CEO Kim asked Lee Woo-yeon, who was reading a script. Why? Doesn't it make you dizzy? It makes my stomach churn. You always get queasy when reading, sir. Manager CHA teased, laughing. When did I ever? I read a lot. Name one book you've read recently. Hey, cut it out. Put the script away. Flustered, CEO Kim directed his frustration at Lee Woo-yeon, who didn't lift his eyes from the script. You've read it until it's worn out. Isn't that enough? In a past interview, Choi In-seop had heard Lee Woo-yeon say he read the script until he memorized even other characters' lines. It felt strange. He couldn't picture Lee Woo-yeon being so attached to something and putting in that much effort. I need to memorize it. Do you have to memorize others' lines too? Lee Woo-yeon just smiled and continued reading. After some hair-raising driving, manager CHA announced. We lost them. Of course, Manager CHA. He has plenty of experience shaking off fans. He's an expert. Ha ha ha. Your fans didn't follow you like that, sir. You just walked out holding hands. You little. Don't talk like that in front of the kids. Ha ha ha. I never did that. Lee Woo-yeon, don't hang out with your fans. I don't do that. Don't do that or wait. Does that mean I did? I never did that either. Manager CHA, back me up. Manager CHA whistled, avoiding the question. Choi In-seop smiled softly at their banter. In-seop, you laughed, didn't you? CEO Kim leaned forward, making Choi In-seop tense up and shake his head. Don't you know laughing brings good luck? Gawa Mansasian, is that right? Maybe not. Uncertain about the saying, Choi In-seop's voice trailed off. People who smile attract blessings. Ha ha. Sometimes when talking to you. CEO Kim paused, glancing at Lee Woo-yeon. He realized where he had felt this oddity before. Initially, when Lee Woo-yeon, who had grown up abroad, spoke Korean, it felt like conversing with a foreigner. It wasn't pronunciation or intonation, but cultural differences that occasionally caused conversation breaks, just like now. Did I say something wrong? Choi In-seop, still gripping the handle by the door, asked with a frightened look. CEO Kim responded, no. Because of that damned Lee Woo-yeon, I've developed this habit of doubting innocent people, he thought, feeling a pang of guilt towards Choi In-seop. Now that we've lost them. Can we slow down a bit? Choi In-seop eyed the speedometer with concern. Manager CHA, puzzled, tilted his head. We shook them off, didn't we? Yes. Then why still drive so fast? We are on the highway, so I'm just going at a reasonable speed. In-seop, your driving must be very cautious. Cautious driving. Lee Woo-yeon must get frustrated riding with you. It's fine. It's not that bad. Despite perfectly adapting to his role as a manager, Choi In-seop's one flaw was that he drove too cautiously. Better than driving recklessly. I'll be more careful and try to drive faster. Choi In-seop's self-critique prompted Lee Woo-yeon to close his script and interject. No need. It's all right. I much prefer cautious driving to reckless driving. Better to be slow and safe. Right. Better to be cautious than to end up like Kang Taek-gun on his first day, CEO Kim climbed up quickly. Who's that? Choi In-seop asked. He was a guy who boasted about being in a car racing team and insisted on driving. He wrecked a billion-won van's front bumper and quit the same day. Manager CHA summarized succinctly. The crash in the parking lot was allegedly due to mysterious brake failure, but CEO Kim suspected it was Lee Woo-yeon's doing. In-seop, don't overthink it. Just drive safely. That's how you stick around. CEO Kim gave this advice with a meaningful glance at Lee Woo-yeon, who pretended not to understand and resumed reading his script. The car was filled with casual conversation. It wasn't until Manager CHA slowed to 120 km per hour that Choi In-seop finally let go of the handle. After a while, the car exited at the Donghae rest area. Why stop? We are only about 40 minutes away. Blood is about to burst. Show some consideration, Manager CHA grumbled, parking the car. As Choi In-seop reached for the door, Manager CHA stopped him. Wait. We need to plan our moves. What? With him around, we can't move freely, he said, nodding toward Lee Woo-yeon. Oh, right. What should we do? Ask him. Wanna stay in the car? Want us to bring you something? Lee Woo-yeon closed his script, put on his sunglasses and pulled up his hoodie and jacket. CEO Kim sighed deeply. Damn it, what kind of trip is this? The three men got out first, followed by Lee Woo-yeon. As expected, a group of women quickly surrounded him after a few steps. Oppa. Oh my gosh, it's Lee Woo-yeon. Cameras clicked from all directions. The three men managed to navigate through the crowd and find seats in a restaurant. Lee Woo-yeon sat in the middle, unfazed by the commotion. While manager CHA was in the restroom, CEO Kim returned from ordering. "Let's eat quickly. We'll have sashimi once we get there anyway." Manager CHA, over here. Manager CHA spotted them and walked over. At least it's not too crowded. Imagine if a school trip had arrived. It's not school trip season. Remember when we were on location in the countryside and stopped at a rest area only to find 20-odd school buses? Ha ha. That time you called me saying you were stuck because of a clueless manager. Yes, I remember. Despite sounding like a fun story, it was a tense situation. The then manager, cluelessly announcing their movie shoot with Lee Woo-yeon at a rest area crowded with school buses, had caused a frenzy. Lee Woo-yeon was trapped in the van for 3 hours and the day's filming was cancelled. That manager was fired due to Lee Woo-yeon's fury and pressure from manager CHA. Ah, those were the days. CEO Kim sighed at the bitter memory. The autograph requests eased as the food arrived, the adults showing some decency by letting them eat. Rest area udon is the best. Not quite like the school trip ones, but close. Right. Nothing beats school trip udon, manager CHA chimed in. Lee Woo-yeon and Choi In-seop quietly ate their noodles. In-seop, you went to Shinseok High, right? Didn't someone from the planning team graduate from there too? Really? I wouldn't know. I think so. Shinseok High. You two don't know each other. Just because they went to the same school doesn't mean they know each other, CEO. Despite manager CHA's remark, CEO Kim was persistent. Well, everyone from my school knows me. That's you, sir. In-seop must have been as polite and quiet in school as he is now. Don't compare him to someone as outspoken as you. Choi In-seop remained silent. His school life had been miserable, marked by being an Asian adoptee with a frail body, leading to frequent absences and repeated years. He doubted anyone from his school days would remember him, especially since Jenny, the only one who might, was no longer around. Where did you go for your high school trip? What? The school trip. Momentarily lost in thought, Choi In-seop pretended to recall before excusing himself to the restroom. As soon as he left, CEO Kim turned to Lee Woo-yeon with a sharp look. What's your game? Why are you really here? I wanted some fresh air. You're here to torment him, aren't you? CEO Kim pointed in the direction Choi In-seop had gone, continuing his interrogation. Don't do anything out of character. You're scaring me. Lee Woo-yeon put down his chopsticks and laughed. If you get scared this easily, you'd have had a heart attack long ago. Stop acting like an amateur. CEO Kim couldn't laugh at Lee Woo-yeon's biting joke. Seriously, why are you here? I'm curious. Curious about what? The fish? Curious about what kind of fish you'll catch. About what goes on in my manager's head. What? CEO Kim looked to manager CHA for support, but manager CHA just shrugged. He preferred to stay out of Lee Woo-yeon's business. Aren't you more worried about Ken Young-mo? Manager CHA mentioned the actor who had just been cast alongside Lee Woo-yeon in the upcoming drama. CEO Kim's expression darkened. The original actor had been replaced at the last minute due to an injury, and the replacement was Ken Young-mo, notorious for his difficult personality. Ken Young-mo was infamous for not tolerating anyone stealing his spotlight. He often had writers change scripts to his liking, and anyone who had worked with him knew his temper. Yet, he kept getting cast because of his undeniable talent and the ratings boost he brought. Oh, they cast him. If I'd known, I wouldn't have put you in that drama. Don't worry. I'll handle it. How can I not worry? Stories of Ken Young-mo fighting with directors, co-stars, extras, and even staff were rampant. He couldn't stand anyone overshadowing him, making Lee Woo-yeon a prime target for his ire. Remember when he poured alcohol on Kim Suk-hyen's head during a movie shoot and they got into a fist fight? It was in the news. That was cleared up. They were seen later, arm in arm. Do you think the movie studio would let that story slide before the release? They paid off reporters to cover it up. Kim Suk-hyen is patient, so he finished the movie despite the fight. But you? Lee Woo-yeon smiled softly. I don't do things like that. As someone passed by and greeted Lee Woo-yeon, he smiled back kindly and bowed slightly. Then he whispered softly, I just kill him where no one can see. Ha ha ha, just kidding. Lee Woo-yeon waved cheerfully, but both men knew there was truth in his words. That wasn't a joke.